Thank you, guys.
Will he capture it?
He's only got one shot. You know, he's got to watch out for Mum Spaghetti. Thank you, Nathanius, for that epic introduction. Of course, I am here with Todd. I am Pig, and we are ready to cast an amazing Terran vs. Zerg. These guys had an incredible game one earlier in the tournament when they did play, but GuMiho on the left, the veteran, the guy who's fought so long for his one championship, he was the one who did triumph, and the newcomer, the youngest player here at the BlizzCon Finals, he has got his work cut out for him. Spawning up here in the top left-hand side, in the blue, it is Serral.
His opponent in the red, it is GuMiho. Had a very successful previous series against Serral with a 2-0 win. They played Mech Depot as first and Ascension to Ire as second map. So this time we see Ascension to Ire come out early, and we've got a drone already going across the map now. Pig, you're the Zerg player. Ooh. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, looks like a proxy hatchery Ravager rush is most likely what we'll be seeing. Of course, we have to wait to find out. You know what?
Against an outer wall off like this,
yeah,
it can be pretty good, I'm assuming.
Gumi showed this earlier. This is something he's been enjoying, doing the low ground wall off, goes for his factory there, doesn't like to SCV scout. Serral's saying, you know what? I can take advantage of this. He might even be like a spine crawler rush or something like that. We're going to have to wait to see exactly what he has in store, but a very fast gas and pool are going down. Definitely going to be some fast aggression coming out of Serral, and it doesn't even need to be a kill move. He can always get a queen out of that, spread creep, expand behind it. We're going to have to see just how all-in Serral wants to go.
And in this kind of scenario where a player gets a rematch, I really feel like the player that lost the first time, especially against somebody like GuMiho who has a very specific style, he's going to be advantaged. Like obviously GuMiho's very good, he's a master of his craft with the mech, but Serral making some adjustments here already, trying to counter the build of GuMiho, who hasn't scouted. How important is this here going up against this?
Yeah, this is huge, and he's already got that Reaper rallied across the map. I mean, ideally the Reaper does cross the map because at least then he sees what he's up against. I think it would actually be worse if he leaves that Reaper at home to defend against any potential Zerglings.
How about the fact that the factory is down there?
Yeah, and this is...
If you have to fly this back, it's really bad, right?
This is exactly what he knew he was going to be going up against. The add-ons, the depots, they're going to be all exposed down here. He can fly the buildings away, but without the add-ons, they're pretty worthless. So it is going to be a Roach Warren down behind this, and double gas in the main base. Oh man, this is going to be a huge commitment to Ravagers out of Serral.
It's not like the all-in on one base though. You definitely have a bit of an economy behind this. You have the Queen, which usually if you do it on one base you don't even get. And Serral, he's taking a big risk. Now it's been scouted. A bunker is going to start immediately here for GuMiho. Is he right in trying to defend on the low grounds, do you think?
I think he might have to. I mean, he's going to start a Hellion though. That's not the right call here. I do think a Cyclone is probably what he needs to build 100%. He does want to hang on. Bunkers are going to be an important step to holding on. Queen already spreading creep towards here. And,
did GuMiho see the double gas? No, he only checked the natural.
He came straight home. All he knows is he's up against a one-base wall, and now he knows there's a proxied hatchery. That Reaper taking a ton of damage.
Do you think he thought maybe it was something else? Like a Bane attack? Circling Bane? Or because he didn't check the main base, right? Like if you see the double gas, you know it's like Ravager Roach.
Interestingly, he's going to try and fly the factory back there, and he realizes now what it is that, that he's up against. 3 Ravagers here at the front, aiming for that reactor. They want to slow down that Marine production. It looks like a single Hellion and a Reaper actually going to try and do a counterattack, knowing they can't really help out much against Roach Ravager.
Yeah, the creep spread is going to progress forward. Triple Corrosive Bile is going to keep on landing on that depot, plus the bunker. Trying to hit both at once here, which is really smart. Obviously, that bunker is going to die as well. Supply blocking GuMiho here, who's... He actually chose to make a medivac there.
And that's kind of nice.
You don't really have time to rush a Banshee, right?
You can kind of save your units with it, pick them up, drop them. Ideally, you get a siege tank out. That supply block is killing him right now. The siege tank isn't starting. The way you counter this push is normally to get a siege tank, and you can just drop it and pick it up over and over again. And that way, the Ravager hits will never actually land because they are a projectile type attack.
Yeah, but remember, you can't even pick up siege tanks anymore. So an Overlord spotting on the high grounds.
No, you do it unsieged. The whole point of the medevac tank is you do it with an unsieged tank, and you basically just drop it, load, unload.
Yeah.
But with multiple queens down there, you're not even going to be able to chase him off with that. All you're going to be able to do is make sure you don't die. And now GuMiho pushed back to one base. Ravagers and Roaches coming forward. Biles landing on that tech lab. He wants to start another siege tank, but it looks like that tech lab is going to go down, and it's just going to be a single siege tank out of that factory.
Which again, he can shoot with the Ravagers. If it sieges, oh my god, he actually sieges in a good location. I get to shoot units that will move up the ramp, but not quite get shot from the low ground. So it's for Serral to choose if he wants to sacrifice maybe like one Ravager to try and move up and shoot that down. Cloak Banshee is now going to start from GuMiho. Actually, the Banshee is quite quite far along already. He's just a Cloak that only now started. I'm pretty sure he's gonna wanna send that across the map because Cloak is should line up well with when he reaches the other side of the map.
Absolutely, and that is a good thing. It's sort of a utility tool. It allows you to put pressure on, it allows you to defend, and that lair only just now starting up. I mean, it will provide some detection. There's only one queen at home right now. Needs to start up some more queen production at home. Most of the queens over on GuMiho's side of the map.
Yeah.
This might actually be something which punishes Serral here. Very little anti-air at home. No spore crawlers. He has no idea about this Banshee.
He lost the Overlord, right? Because he can't see on the high ground. Ideally, oh no, actually it's there. I'm a little bit surprised he's not trying to shoot down that bunker a little bit more there. I mean, it's free shots, right, from Corrosive Bile. You could be using that to force more repairs.
Just playing it very safe with these units for now is Serral. Just wants to slow down any move out to that expansion. There we go. 2 queens are there together at the natural. That cloak almost finished. Just going to take 2 drone kills for now. Spore crawlers have started. The lair not quite finished. And that Banshee going to come back into the main for a few more pickoffs. Yeah,
Cloak 1 second away from finishing it. Does finish now. I think maybe he shouldn't have spored that he had that because now the spore started early and the cloak is going to be almost useless. Look, he cloaks it, kills 2 drones, but then what?
He's wasted a good amount of mining time, though, so it's not all lost. Does keep the Banshee alive. 5 workers have gone down. Serral, of course, 28 workers to 30. Really, and it's these Ravagers and Queens that give Serral the ability to get ahead in this game. Right now, it's the fact that he has more bases, more mineral patches to mine from, but he doesn't actually have a much larger economy. The problem for Gumi is, of course, because he's been so busy defending, you know, where's the upgrades on the bio? He's starting Stim and an Engineering Bay now, but he's still locked in on one base. How does he get bio? How does he get down and expand to another base?
Yeah, and also he wasn't even necessarily thinking about bio, right? It's like we've seen him play plenty of mech. Now it feels like because maybe of the opener he was forced into that. Let's see if those Corrosive Bile land properly. They do land, but there's one missing here on that tank to kill it. Not quite enough just yet, perhaps, for GuMiho to be fighting this. Queen could take out the Banshee as well.
Oh, so close to going down.
And GuMiho tried to break out maybe a little bit too early there.
Yeah, loses a lot of those valuable tech units. Back to 1 base for GuMiho, still there. Back to square one. 45 drones are out behind this. Serral, he might have been mining from the proxy base, but his main and natural are fully mining at this point. He's got a huge economy lead.
What do you make of the speedling here? Was that really important? Couldn't Serral have played with just like more roaches and...
Guess he just wants to play a Zergling-based style, maybe transition out of that. I guess it's stylistic, right? This way he's going to have more mobility. We might see a Baneling transition. Say just use roaches for this very early stage.
So use his economic lead gain with the rush to just maybe overwhelm with Roach Ravager and Zergling Bane. Has some potential. I love how that Banshee, by the way, like he scanned, he killed the Cryptumor. I was like, that's going to go right back down. And sure enough, this entire natural is blocked off now. And he has to scan one more time, but he doesn't have the energy. He's going to have to land the CC. This is a disaster.
Dude, that's so bad. I feel like he probably should have just squeezed a Raven out here at some point. Now it's going to take him forever. And look at the creep. It's not just here. Oh,
the lone survivor.
Way. You're kidding me.
Oh, no.
I'm sure GuMiho's saying that in his head right now because this is a terrible start. Serral here with the Proxy Hatch Ravager Rush sniper build. It's come in. It was tailored specifically to take advantage of the way GuMiho's been opening. And so far, everything is looking good for Serral. Finally, that hatchery gets cleaned up, but Serral's already on 3 bases back home, and the creep is spreading everywhere.
Okay. Oh, the tumor barely denied the last second. He's going to have to use another scan for that. So Serral buying himself a little bit more time. 51 drones to 34 SCVs, and creep kind of in the middle of the map, forcing more scans instead of mule potentially. How big is this for Serral? Like, what would you say his advantage is right now?
This is crazy. There are advantages all over the place. Look at this production. I mean, yeah, there's 4 barracks. There's only 1 engineering bay, though. There's no reactor on the starport. Contaminate on the tech lab as well. There's not really an ability for GuMiho to quickly reproduce an army. At the same time, vision is everywhere. Serral has so much warning of this attack coming. He's got a ton of Queens and Ravagers.
Yeah.
He is so ready for this.
I saw 4 Banshees and I got worried for Serral. Then I saw his army of like mass Queens Ravagers. I'm like, nah, I don't think he's going to do that much. Especially like that tank can't even siege. Like he would get shot down instantly by Corrosive Bile.
This is a great position for Serral. He is way ahead in this game, and GuMiho feeling desperate. He knows he needs to do something. He's trying to split his army up, realizing he can't fight this front on.
There is no Queen in the main, I think. If he goes for the Spore, GuMiho might be able to wreck that entire place. Chooses to go for some drones instead. And the Evo I think the upgrade will finish on time.
Yeah, the upgrade does finish, so only damaging the Evo, doesn't even snipe it off. Not really finding any edges here is Gumi, and we can see these advantages compounding now for Serral. Engaging the army in the middle of the map, the Marines and tank do try to take a fancy little trade. They get a couple of Roaches and Ravages.
Serral squeezed some units in the natural of GuMiho, I think, right now. I don't know if that's... He sent that around if there were still eggs there they could still use, but 3 Roaches is going to find some damage here onto those SCVs. GuMiho can't afford to lose any walkers. He's on 27 SCVs against 64 drones.
This is a disaster right now. Everything falling apart for Gumi. He's trying to clean this up, but those Marines barely tickling those +1 Carapace Roaches. So many SCVs falling and knocked back down to 22 workers against a 60 drone. 3 base economy Zerg still wasting scans trying to clear up this creep.
That was twice. He scanned twice and didn't even kill all the creep tumors.
Wow.
He's had to use so many scans already this game. Serral making really the most of his queens and those creep tumors, now going straight into infestation pits, more upgrades out of double evos, and just has got this massive army of Roach Ravager.
This is why you got to be so careful with how you deal with these early rushes. You called it earlier, Todd, when he moved down to that low ground trying to secure his natural. He lost multiple tanks, he lost a bunch of Marines, his medevac and Banshees got bruised. And because of that, it took him so long to get down here. By the time he was clearing up that creep, it had just spread too far in too many directions, and it was impossible to clean up with scans alone. So GuMiho pretty much being checkmated here by Serral's very clean follow-up to that early rush. Now, Serral is going to transition into Infestors, into Zerglings as well.
What would it take for GuMiho to come back and win this?
We might need Serral to dance his entire army. We need Serral to get really cocky and take his hands off the keyboard. Something crazy has got to happen. Maybe a power outage and a crazed referee ordering a regame.
A move command into this army might do it as well.
Yeah, even then he's going to need to move command for like 15 seconds straight. There's just not a lot of damage in there. Combat Shields is only now about to finish.
The one lone medevac trying to heal everything here as he already steamed one time. And Serral just kind of waiting on creep. He's happy to use his far better economy here to make way more units. Still has got a ton of creep tumors on the other side of the map, by the way. Like, he gets a lot of vision out of that.
Yeah, it's really good the way he keeps respreading it. And whenever it gets cleaned up in an area,
from behind?
He spreads back towards that direction. Infestors should be coming out very soon. Roaches and Ravages looking for an angle.
The 360 surround pig. It's going to come here in a second. Steam again.
Those Queens trying to spam transfuse. Those Marines not quite able to damage them down. Corrosive Bile forcing the Banshees to run. Marines picking up. Elevatoring back to the low ground. The siege tanks there on the ramp. But the Roaches and Ravages jump on top of them. Corrosive Bile landing. Those siege tanks are going to fall. The Queens are going to come forward, shoot away those Banshees. And I mean, GuMiho took about as good as a fight as he possibly could. But in the end, Serral closing out game 1 in decisive fashion. Brings out the sniper build. Very well planned to take advantage of his opponent.
A player ranked 1 on the Korean ladder for quite a while. Serral always been hyped a lot, and now he's one map away from making the quarterfinals, the biggest tournament of the year, the WCS Global Finals. Definitely would deliver on the hype, and even would have a chance to go further. I mean, with the way he's playing here, like this has been a very, very impressive game. I love the adjustment that he's made. He said, you know what, you like to do this on the low ground, I'm just gonna kind of counter you. Especially, like, he's not known as this cheesy player, right? Like, he rarely throws in this kind of build. Serral is more the guy that will drone up, play straight up, take it to the late game. And he was like, you know what, enough is enough, and I'm gonna punish you.
That's exactly what you're gonna do in this situation. Here, when the stakes are high, when your opponent shows some very unorthodox play in multiple games, you've got to take advantage of that. Serral showing a good amount of ability to flex, to change up his style, and to take advantage. Of course, so far, we have multiple Koreans, we have a Polish player, and a Mexican in the top 8 of the WCS Global Playoffs. Will we have a Finnish player joining them? That's what Serral's fighting for. Of course, GuMiho here, hoping to have his first big finish at a WCS Global Playoffs. If he could make it further here, he would be very pleased. Of course, the trophy is his goal in the end.
GuMiho, will he make any adjustments? Will he try to be less predictable? We'll find out.
What do you think? Just lift things back to the high ground, maybe. We're going to have to find out. We are going into map number 2. Spawning up here in the top right-hand side of Acolyte in the blue, it is Serral.
His opponent in the reds, it is GuMiho. How about Acolyte? Because last time they played it was Mech Depot. That was the other map that we saw, and not quite Acolyte. So how does this play out if GuMiho was to go into Mech?
This is definitely a late game mech map if I've ever seen it. Hellion run-bys can be really powerful down the edges of this map. It's very hard to break someone front on because obviously you have this base in the back that's pretty much for free. GuMiho looks like he's going to be going for a command center first, something he's shown multiple times before. Very economic opening. I'd say these extreme macro maps like Acolyte, you get a free expansion. They're usually characterized by extreme greed or extreme aggression. These are the sort of maps where we do see those Roach Queen Nidus all-ins trying to punish the greed. It's where the Terran player occasionally does go for some sort of cheesy push. But these two guys going head-to-head, I could hope for nothing more than a mass mech versus Swarm Host game. I want to see Hydraling Bane Swarm Host up against GuMiho's mech. Of course, GuMiho, earlier in the tournament, he showcased a mass Hellion style of mech. He was using every single factory to just mass-produce Hellions. The Locusts weren't able to get through his army. His siege tank count would just remain strong, and he kept taking out Serral's bases. Personally, I think if Serral added some more Banelings in, he might have been able to clear through.
I was going to ask you, what do you think Serral could have done better last time? Maybe some more Vipers? If so, up to how many do you think he should go? Especially, like, there was a moment in their first series on Mech Depot where GuMiho had a lot of tanks. So I thought that personally, like, some more Vipers could have done the job. But do you think just Banelings? Mixing more Banelings would
I think it's kind of a mix, right? He used the Vipers really well, but it felt like GuMiho was always able to push up on top of his bases. He was always able to get on top of him, snipe them out, and that's really the danger with GuMiho, is he's always hitting you from so many angles. He's not just a frontal push guy, he's a guy who's hitting from multiple angles. There's Liberators sieging you up, there's Hellions running by, and I think getting control of the early stage, blocking all of those attacks, and allowing yourself to get enough creep out, get enough map control out, that kind of enables you to feel a bit more comfortable. Serral, he was kind of always on the brink of death, and I feel like it was just one or two engagements where he didn't have enough Banelings in his composition were what let him down.
The drone transfer that got caught, that definitely played a big role in that.
Just a casual 38 drones dying to one Hellion run by. That was a brutal highlight reel we got to see.
You don't want that to happen. It's also a hard thing to look at and be like, all right, I'll just not let that happen again. But in this case, so far, both players just making walkers, you know, just doing what you're supposed to do at this stage in the game. And on this map, Pneumatized Carapace is being researched now for Serral. He wants to ideally get a perfect scout, see if there is any kind of early on armory, in which case you need to never underestimate those potential Hellbats set across the map. But in this case, it is a Widow Mine into a starport that's being made, so maybe a Widow Mine drop and some aggression here and there.
I like these openings on this map. A lot of Terran players showcase Widow Mine drops here because it's one of the most flexible forms of aggression. On a map like Acolyte, the problem a Terran player faces in the early games, it takes so long to get across the map. So if you can do something that doesn't just commit all in one go and either, you know, do damage or get stopped, something like a straight on Hellbat timing, not very powerful. But if you can poke the back with a Widow Mine, if the Zerg's ready, you pick back up, fly to a different angle, bring a Liberator in behind that, run a few Hellions in the front. These are the sort of moves where you have the potential to distract the Zerg, to get damage done over time without just overcommitting into one big engagement.
Player image is very important in StarCraft, and with the way the first game went, should GuMiho maybe be extra wary of the potential for Serral to do a big attack? Or is he just going to find out anyway through his aggression and scouting, you think?
It's a really curious build because he does have a siege tank so far, so maybe he is worried about early aggression, either that or he's planning his own siege tank push. Right now it's just one factory, one starport, one barracks for GuMiho. And I wonder, is he going to drop a third command center in the next few moments? It looks like, okay, there we go. I was about to say either he's doing some, and he's still building siege tanks. All right, so what I think we might see is some form of bunker marine tank push, maybe a drop in the back, something like that. Yeah. And then going into macro behind it, because this is just overly safe if he's only defensive with this many tanks.
And it's GuMiho. If there's a single spot on the map that you can use and abuse with the tanks, it's going to be the guy that does it here. We don't mind going to get one drone and one of the lava.
Good marine micro there from Gumi. Does find the gap in the minerals, but as that Spore Crawler finishes, oh, miss micros there. He was trying to unburrow that Widow Mine, but he clearly misclicked it. The Widow Mine never even attempted to unburrow. Takes a bit of damage on the medevac and loses the Widow Mine.
What would be the best place to do some sort of tank push if you want it on this map? You think here around the natural base? Or?
It's really weird because I don't think the tank can actually reach the mineral line. So maybe here, with the observers showing us. But even then, you can't actually reach the workers mining. So I'm not 100% sure. Gumi might just kind of use the tanks and marines to siege up in the back of the base, just drop in, hope there's not enough units, try to snipe down the hatchery. This is not something we see very often, and I don't think Serral's spotted it just yet. This is a lot of Marines and Siege tanks coming in. There is a Spore Crawler there, and a lot of Zerglings in position. Is GuMi going to find an angle?
Oof, if he had gone for it, that could have been scary actually, because there was only the one queen and some links, but he couldn't have known, right? He only sees so far with the medivacs and the vision. Lots of Hellions actually being made and not quite rallied across the map yet just yet from GuMiho, who started double additional factory, which Serral already saw. So he can start thinking on how to counter that. Tanks are actually going to siege here in that location, and Serral's links were far away. He probably thought that there was no way GuMiho was going to go for this drop, but he did go for it.
Queen's going to come in first. The Siege tanks taking a lot of fire on those Queens. The Zerglings try to get in, but they take some disastrous shots from the Siege tanks. Not too many Zerglings left. The Queen's trying to focus down these medivacs. Already 12 workers falling there. Just the Zerglings clumping between the minerals, not quite finding the damage. GuMi with a very special attack here. Something we haven't seen from any other Terran player. A tank Marine drop in the back door. Kaleem's house takes Serral out. What the?
And the Spore never shot. The Spore never shot during that whole fight. He didn't move it either. Serral clearly not seeing this coming and underestimating it once it was dropped. I guess you only have so much time before you have to engage against 3 tanks that could be attacking your hatchery anyway. Yeah. So he did have to go for it at some point. Maybe he could have waited for some more links. GuMiho with a nice little tank drop here with some Marines, despite not going to Steam or any sort of real bio, just the initial Marines, medivacs and tanks. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I don't even need to use the map to my advantage, just going to drop straight into your natural, and Serral just not quite ready here in this game. He was so focused on the mid to late game, scouting what's across the map, that he kind of underestimated the amount of units that were on the map and died because of it.
Yeah, I wonder if he spotted the multiple Siege tanks coming out, because he's obviously very busy dealing with the Widowmine drop, making sure he cleaned that up, and having Overlord speed. If you see multiple Siege tanks out, you've really got to prepare for some sort of push to come in, and Serral there caught a little bit too greedy. He had things like Baneling speed and Hydra upgrades on the way,
yeah.
Double Evo chamber going.
Expansion, man.
Yeah,
the back door was open
way too greedy, man.
GuMiho jumped on the opportunity.
Of course, now it just comes down to one final game to see which one of these players will be going through to the top 8, through to those quarterfinals. GuMiho had to pull out his special tactics there. Interesting, he did do that on one of the biggest maps in the pool, a map which a lot of Terrans are very afraid to play bio on, but sometimes they do embrace playing mech on, and I really wonder what he's going to pull out in map number 3. GuMi is a player who is never predictable. He has got so many builds up his sleeve. Does he do something like this again, which is very aggressive? Does he go back to his more typical mech play? Are we going to see speed banshees? These are the thoughts running through Serral's head right now as we launch into map number 3. And here we go. The next map is going to be Abyssal Reef. And spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side, representing ENCE Esports, it is Serral.
His opponent in the red finally brought it back. He wants to go to the round of 8. It is GuMiho.
Representing Psystorm Gaming for quite a while now. He's had a lot of success with them.
As much as on the previous map, he wasn't clear-cut where you would do a tank push. On this one, I think we all know and we've all seen behind the natural base and those minerals where you will place those tanks if you wanted to do a big push there, which can be very dangerous and is extremely hard to counter. Like Zergs actually take down the rocks from very early on this map if they want to make sure that they can counter this properly.
Serral is a very Hydra-focused Zerg though, so I wonder if he's the sort of player to actually take that expansion down there on the bottom side of the map, which is, you know, I've gone for tank pushes like that myself before playing games. You walk up, you realize they've taken their third there, and it just does not work, because out front of that third base, it's all wide open areas and ledges. So going to be interesting to see which expansion pattern Serral does choose. Does he go upwards with the more standard one, or out to the left?
What do you make of the build order, though?
Gas pool, just a very safe opening. Probably going to squeeze out 2 Zerglings. Sometimes Serral actually doesn't even build the 2 Zerglings to go across the map. He just likes the early Queen to defend the Reaper. This allows him to put all of his lava into drones rather than Zerglings. Gets him that slight economic edge.
And also you're safer against some sort of Reaper proxy, right?
Simplifies your game plan a lot. Makes things very easy in the early game.
GuMiho on the other side going for a standard Reaper into command center there. With the way GuMiho's been playing, like we saw 2 very specific games where like players went for aggressions and all that. Maybe it's time for a real standard game, 5 bases, which are pretty easy to take on this map, and a longer game plan. What do you think the likelihood is for both players to be thinking that right now?
I mean, Abyssal Reef's a map where we've seen a lot of late game mech play on. We've seen Swarm Hosts do incredibly well on this map. We've also seen Terran Harassment just get out of control many times here on Abyssal Reef, so it definitely could go either way. It comes down to which strategies these players choose to opt for. Zerglings trying to sneak their way across the map. That Reaper's looking for them. Zerglings, are they going to run into that Reaper? Oh, he's looking for these sneaky Zerglings. Don't think he's going to find them. And the Zerglings are going to make their way across the map. And, oh no, they went the wrong way. The Reaper does find them. Lucky Reaper going to be able to, of course, save that command center from having the SCV harassed. Serral trying to do a good job of hiding this other Zergling, but it looks like they will be meeting a watery end.
You can run, but you can't hide. Well, actually, you can't even run because you didn't have speed yet. But yeah, 2 more are going to try to do the same thing here, maybe. As we do see Pneumatize Carapace starting once again. Serral wants to make sure he's on top of his scouting against GuMiho, who's a master of many different builds. Definitely going to be useful to know whether there is an armory first and foremost, and then to basically confirm that it's mech. You know, like the one time you don't check for it, then it's bio, and then you're going for the wrong units, everything goes south, then you're out of BlizzCon.
Oh yeah, you don't want that to happen this early, and that's why, of course, the Reaper here for GuMiho also checking. It's okay, you are going for a pretty normal third. Just peeking around, and so far behind this, it looks like an identical opening from GuMiho. Whether or not he commits to the same sort of siege tank marine push, I do not know, but you called it earlier. It wouldn't be a bad choice with this third base location that Serral took. That push on the low ground could be very powerful.
Looks like he's going to swap the factory for the barracks, so a reactored factory, perhaps or some Hellions, which are also pretty good.
Yeah, 4 Hellion run by, following up the Widowmine drop can actually be really cool. Often the Zerg's out of position. Those Hellions run in, and you can have a drone barbecue on your hands. I've seen many a Zerg knocked out of a tournament from this opening pressure. Could be a Banshee to follow it up as well.
And a Raven actually starting behind this here from GuMiho. Wants to do quite a bit of harassment here. Auto turrets do very well. Serral is pretty good against harass though, especially actually even against Protoss, against Stasis Ward. Like he's one of the best Zergs that I've seen defend those at times. Obviously auto turrets are a different monster.
Yeah, they can keep coming in over and over again unless you do go Mutalisk, because of course Serral is already going to that Baneling tech here. Has a good number of Queens out.
Yeah.
He's going to shoo this away. Overlord tanks the Widowmine. Nice play there. Of course, Overlord not going down.
Is the Baneling tech because he saw a reactored factory and he's like, Hellbats could be dangerous if I only have pure Lings and Queens?
Yeah, I think that definitely keeps him a lot safer against that. Something which you never know exactly what Terran's going to come out with when they open up with this sort of 1-1-1. The Barracks Factory and Starport. The Terran can be very cheeky with how they swap this tech around. So Serral wanting to be safe rather than sorry. And oh, those Hellions. The Zerglings were hiding. They didn't want to show themselves. But GuMiho's on the ball.
Yeah.
The moment he sees them, he pulls back to the choke point.
He tried to bait him to come in so he could set up there. GuMiho going to be forced back. Good defense so far from Serral, I would say. But any single mistake from there and it's going to be over very, very quickly. Interesting, the Raven actually provides detection on top of dropping an auto turret, so he can clean up a lot of that creep. GuMiho, his builds are just so crisp, you know, he doesn't miss a beat, everything is looking clean. In the meantime, double E base starting, he's got the third command center on the way.
Yeah, it's going to be bio follow-up. I love this from Gumi. You know, he hasn't had a lot of success going back to bio with his 2-1-1 opening, but here, with this sort of harassment opening, I think this is a fantastic decision. Look at this Raven, it just gives so much utility. Think of all the scans, which a lot of Terran players would be wasting right now. Instead, he's just like, hey, free pickups, Raven can rotate around, drop an auto turret. This puts so much pressure on Serral.
Did Serral see that he was bio yet? Okay, I think, yeah, he saw it. Okay, so that's why I was wondering, because obviously we see the 1-1 starting from GuMiho. You don't want to be too far behind from that as a Zerg. So we see the double Evo starting. That's the reaction that you want against bio to make sure you keep up with these upgrades.
And Baneling speed's going to be very early here for Serral. So playing a very safe game. Auto turret is going to come down once again. He's going to take out 1 or 2 drones there. Nice focus fire from Gumi. Does grab 2 drone kills before it does fall. And Hellions and Ravens poking in the front again, just being such a pain, draining every single little bit of Queen energy that Serral can gather up.
So I guess Serral is doing like the more standard expanding route here. We're taking the 4th on the low ground over there. Hydralists are going to be on the menu here with the Hydra Den about to finish.
Oh yeah.
And from there, GuMiho, remember, he has earlier upgrades. If he was to somehow, you know, get 2-2 and have a big army, he could hit a very dangerous timing from there.
And this is actually where Gumi often goes into a very unique direction. He plays Widow Mines, you can see in the production tab, rather than Siege Tanks. Ooh, does get a couple of drones. Otherwise will be defended there. Oh, the drones go back in a little bit early, but just barely saves all of those weak workers. Serral dancing with fire there. But as I was saying, he likes to go for a Widow Mine style, and GuMiho isn't as focused on killing his opponent. He loves actually just transitioning into 3 starport ranged Liberators off Bio Mine, and he is totally happy to play against the Bio.
Oh! Ooh, only one medivac here to pick up some of these Marines, so a lot of them are actually gonna die unless he can reinforce. Yeah, just on time. Still almost overcommitting here. He could have forced some friendly fire here for a second.
That was very risky from Gumi.
Stefano 4GG-esque from the old time.
Yeah, it's not every day you can count on that one happening. Every Widow Mine deciding to target its own units. But once in a while that does happen, and Gumi, of course, being very ballsy, just only having 1 medevac down there with his units, but now he's got more than enough lift to take care of that. We do have those drops getting ready to go drop Banelings on the Terran Mineral Lines. This Raven continuing to be a pain. Serral trying to get as much damage on that as possible, and very quick on the drone pull, only going to lose mining time.
Yeah, the Raven's a boss, being kept alive the whole time, dropping auto turret consistently. GuMiho still threatening forward here. It's just enough Marines that he could pick them up and leave if he's in danger. 2-2 started instantly as his 1-1 finished, by the way, so GuMiho still keeping a nice and healthy upgrade leads as that will complete. A 2-2 timing here will be so hard to hold for Serral, but
yeah,
Serral is known for, you know, his production, not missing his injects, but right now he needs to be careful because he's a bit supply blocked, and I see he only started 1 single overload. Might be time to make a lot of them at once.
This is a beautiful dance from GuMiho. The way he's rotating around the map, look at this creep, it's so contained, especially on this north path. And because he's not playing a siege tank style, remember, GuMiho is so much more maneuverable. He can hit multiple angles really easily. So even as he's pushing here, he's got an army moving through the middle of the map. He is looking for any weakness in Serral's defense right now.
Serral's gonna try to time a double overload drop here with Banelings across the map to try and wreck the mineral lines of GuMiho. And if GuMiho is looking across the map, which you should be when you have Bio and against Banelings, he might lose a lot of SCVs. Yeah, Serral is forcing him to look there.
Ooh, yeah.
The overlords still haven't gone forward yet. They're just posturing forward right now. He might wait until he knows that the fight's going to start. No, here we go. This is not going to be spotted early because there is no vision up there here from GuMiho.
There's a Raven hitting the natural right now of Serral. That's where the auto turret is trying to micro. But even despite focusing on his Raven, does pull the SCVs very quickly. Another Overlord drop coming to the natural, but it actually doesn't unload the Banelings.
Oh my god, that could have been huge there, but Serral didn't actually Q command the drop there. That was weird. And the Overlord just died with 4 Banelings inside.
5th base here under assault. GuMiho doing a lot with just a small squad of Marines. At the same time, baiting Serral into these Widow Mines, but good split there at the last minute from Serral. We've got auto turrets in the main, medevacs in the natural. GuMiho showing his trademark insane multitasking. He is taxing Serral so hard right now. He's saying, you didn't build Spire. I am going to abuse my mobility. I'm going to use the edges of this map and inflict so much pain on you. Yet another huge Widow Mine goes down. More and more auto turrets in the natural. There's 2 Ravens down here that will not stop.
Yeah, it's just those medivacs, they went in the exact right direction not to get surrounded and sniped here. If I'm ever going on a world tour, I'll hire GuMiho as my guide, man. That guy knows the way. Got out of there with those 4 medivacs, and he's still riding units from across the map. Still actually moving forward there, maybe for a big attack.
Oh, Hydra's exposed there on the back line. Marines coming forward, do grab 2 of them. GuMiho completely unafraid, running forward. He's going to try and focus them down, but the speed banes going forward are going to force Gumi to split backwards, trying to take this engagement. This is off creep. This is not the absolute best engagement for Serral, but he does micro well in order to get rid of those Widow Mine shots. 1 Raven finally goes down. Check out this Raven, 19 kills. 19.
And the other one probably had as many.
Oh,
like
man.
He kept on bullying these drones. You talked about it. The Mass Liberator transition with advanced ballistics. There it is, Pig. And it's going to be a scary one here as Serral is... He was trailing in supply actually for a little bit, but eventually caught up. But on upgrades, I think he's going to start on falling behind. It doesn't feel like he can afford to start something like +3 anything right now. Whereas GuMiho, he did start +3 infantry weapons.
Nice little supply lead for Serral. He does now have a very meaty army out, and I've got to really take my hat off to him. Even as this auto turret comes back and gets a few more worker kills, Serral is keeping up in supply so well despite GuMiho's non-stop aggression. But now, finally, Serral stabilizes. He starts to get some units out of the map. Hopefully, he can get a little bit of creep out for himself because his map control is still severely limited. And he's transitioning into Ultras,
I mean,
but there's already mass range Liberators out, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of Marines. Definitely could be useful. How many Marines are there actually? I saw like a silly amount of them. 72
What?
Marines.
How many tech labs do we have on GuMi's side of the map? Maybe he can't actually produce too many Marauders. We've got 1 tech lab on that barracks. And is he still only on 5 barracks? I think he is.
So I guess that's the whole point.
Ooh.
Like Liberators complement Marines very well in trying to counter Ultras, which are not even there just yet. Maybe trying to use those advanced ballistic upgrades here to snipe drones from afar, from safety.
Oh man, that Liberator combined with the Raven hitting the natural. This is good damage. Ling's going to get on this base, but the Planetary Fortress finishes just in the nick of time. And with these Libs coming forward and the bio, this may be an overcommitment from Serral. Can he get the base? Yes, he can. Does take out the Planetary. Loses a lot of units for it, though. Serral on the back foot now. With GuMiho pushing in the front. A couple of good Baneling connections, but there is a ton of Marines left where that came from.
He might need to evacuate that base. Yeah, he doesn't have the Banelings just yet. GuMiho is going to pounce on top of this base, take it out. Blinding Clouds are going to be important here, but the Widow Mines are still very scary. And you can't use as many Blinding Clouds and Abducts as you want to, so if the Marines start synergizing with the Liberators very well, it's going to be really good for GuMiho.
Serral here still at a very impressive supply, hanging on well, has +3 carapace, but the upgrades for GuMi are out of control. Getting the armor upgrades to make these Liberators and Medevacs harder and harder to take down. Remember, those Hydras do not have ranged upgrades, they're only just starting. And against +3 armor Liberators and Medevacs, they're going to take forever to go down.
Does he have Chitinous baiting? Actually, I see like an Ultra starting.
Oh, a drop in the main as well. GuMi still all over the place. Runs back in on the 3rd base as well. He's going to get another snipe on that one. This small squad of Hydra Bane is going to push him back for now. At the same time as Zerglin counterattack gets cleaned up on the backside. GuMiho seems to be winning fights on every single front, and yet despite that, Serral's still up at 70 workers. He's still got 4 bases mining strong, and he's still maxed out.
He's going to replace all the Links and Banes that he lost with the very important Ultras there. I see +3 carapace about to finish. These Ultras are going to be extremely tanky against the Marines, but the Liberators are going to be the problem. If there are enough Hydralisks to clean them up, though, he should be all right.
Yeah, the Viper's going to be key with Abducts. I guess it all comes down to if GuMi can siege up on top of a base in one of these choke points, which Abyssal Reef is covered in choke points. If he can do that, Serral has to fight into it. That's where Serral's army just gets minced. But on the other hand, if Serral can start splitting up his Ultras, his Lings, his Banes, pushing multiple areas, his mobility is his big advantage.
GuMiho doesn't know that he's there. This is scary. He could blow up that one base instantly. Okay, he does have the Sensor Tower. Sees it, tries to move in position to defend that.
Drop on the backside gets cleaned up. GuMi, of course, busy dealing with this big army at the front. Both players.
You see this? Serral left a chunk of army on the right-hand side to defend a counterattack. Now he sees that there's nothing. He might move towards the natural base to try and bust it, or like the one that's on the low ground there.
And that is just an orbital, not a planetary, actually.
That's the one from his main. He hasn't had that good economy because he kept on making units and trading them, so he actually flew the one from the main base.
Chitinous plating is starting up, as is the Spire, of course. Corruptors and potentially Broodlords, usually the big late-game switch, which enables Zerg to overwhelm the Terran. Coming in on this base, as you mentioned, Todd, 11 workers going down. A bunch of depots going to fall as well. Good damage here from Serral, but this is a scary Liberator count. Abducts a whole bunch of those Liberators in, but the Widow Mines and other Liberators still take down 1 or 2 Ultralisks. Serral forced back on that front, even while the Liberators defend this push on the top side.
Yeah, he's going to have to evacuate here against this. This army is so scary. There's actually a bunch of Marauders in there as well, so he's not just full Marines here against those Ultras. Sieging from afar from the high ground, you talked about it. There's so many positions here on this map where you can do this. He's going to move down in position inside of those safe circles where you can't really step here if you're Serral. And Serral's going for the counter-attack with a lot of units.
I mean, he's leading into a planetary fortress right now, though, not really finding the damage. GuMiho's defense has been really good, but GuMiho is massively supply blocked. He has lost a ton of depots on his exposed expansion. Lings are getting into the bases right now. GuMi, will he be able to hang on the front? Serral dancing with death there. I think he needs to give up this base, use that mobility. These Liberators can't move on to creep. If they siege in the open ground, that's where Serral will smash this army.
Serral, I think in the fight as well, he needs to make sure that maybe he puts his Hydralisks on hold position so that when he abducts, those do get shot down, the Liberators that get abducted, because when he abducted before, I think the Hydralisks, they were focused on the ground, right? They didn't prioritize the Liberators, so he didn't even kill them. He abducted like 4 that just like flew away instantly from GuMiho, who reacted very quickly.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hold position micro on the Hydras there. That time he did it very well. Took out a Viking and a few Liberators, and he's going up to a crazy Viper count right now. He's going to abduct every single Liberator, and with no ghosts out for EMP, there isn't going to be any really good answer for this from GuMi. So for Serral now, it's just about making sure he's always reloaded on Ultra Ling Bane and has enough Hydras to actually kill those Liberators when he abducts them. I think Serral's actually looking pretty good right now, and
yeah, I mean, he's getting +2 missile, +3 melee, he's getting all of his upgrades.
Do you think GuMiho... I think Ghost has got to be the only real answer from here. Either that or just outposition Serral and force him to take a bad fight.
Take a sick fight, yeah, with Liberators and Marines. Oh my god, a nice catch here. Abduct! He's going to make sure that nothing gets out of here, and Serral...
Wow.
Defending all over the place here. Now, GuMiho definitely lost a lot of momentum here just here. And now they've been fighting with the crisp red and against it the entire game, but Serral has been relentless. Already back in the middle of the map. He could just replant those crypt tumors and keep working on it.
He's completely adamant about maintaining this map control. That ultra flank comes in from behind. A ton of Marines get cleaned up. And I mean, I love the idea from GuMiho, the idea of the Marines gun down all the Lings and Banes because they're so high DPS. The Liberators deal with the Ultras, but he's just not quite able to force the engagement that he needs. The Vipers are dealing with the Liberators, the Ultras are dealing with the Marines, and the Ling Bane Hydra is just cleaning up anything that's left over.
I guess the 6th base is going to be the one that's hard to take for GuMiho, right? Because then he's up close to a fight towards the middle of the map. And then Serral would be happy to take one of those unless the Liberators are already siege. I see a lot of units setting up at the top side here from both players, but kind of missing one another. So that 6th base here from Serral's going to be denied. He's retaking the one at the bottom. In the meantime, going to do a run by with Zerglings and Ultras kind of attacking here. The 5th base of GuMiho to try and bring him out of position.
Good defense. Those Liberators on the defense just creating a strong point here, which Serral cannot break. He has lost his base in the top side of the map, and he is going to need to make sure he continues to secure new expansions and new pieces of economy. That's the dangerous point for both players here. Which one of them can actually secure a base outside of these original 5 or 6? It's looking good for Serral on the bottom side of the map. His creep's starting to get out there. He's trying to expand in both directions. So even if one base gets sniped by a drop, he can expand to the other side. He's definitely stabilized at this stage of the game, but both players are just one bad fight away from everything going away.
GuMiho with some great upgrades, by the way. Not just 3-3 on the bio, but ship weapons level 1 with level 2 on the way. And ship plating level 3 already. That's what he rushed, so those Liberators will take way longer to actually die. Ghost Academy finally starts here. As GuMiho is about to attempt taking a 6th base, I believe.
There are Corruptors in the mix now for Serral as well. Wouldn't mind seeing a Brood Lords added in as we go along. Those ghosts are definitely going to be the scary thing.
Oh my god. Oh, Serral didn't react.
Parasitic bombs would have been so brutal.
Or
there,
even some
man.
abducts. He could have abducted like 5 Liberators and killed them.
Oh, he's using the Changelings for vision. That's really cool from Serral. If he can see vision of this army, there's one Changeling still in there.
It doesn't look like Serral has many Hydralisks left in his army. Maybe I can't see them because they're like in the middle, but 16 against 18 Liberators.
8 Corruptors are in the mix as well, and he can kind of abduct these Liberators just a few at a time. So this is pretty good control here from Serral. Does grab 2 Liberators. Doesn't really lose anything in return. That's the sort of trade he needs to keep doing. Yeah, I like Infestors being added in here as well. Oh, big Widow Mine hits. 3 Widow Mines hidden on that edge. GuMiho with the special tactics. He's going to run forward with the Libs as well. Nice Parasitic Bomb on the defense from Serral. Serral's just going to pull the trigger. He's going to go, saying way too many of your Libs were on siege just then. Ultra Hydra, Ling Bane tries to run through. A lot of the Ultras trapped behind the Hydras, though. I don't know if this was the right engagement for Serral. It seems like he just barely has the numbers to roll through. GuMiho falling back with a few Marauders. He's going to have to fall back to the Planetary Fortress. Yeah,
Serral restarting a lot of units behind this. Both players with a huge bang, but Serral kind of running out of Injectia, I think, and Lava. I see he has very few Lava. He starts 7 additional drones, in fact.
Yeah, GuMiho has just been constantly marauding along this north side of the map and picking away at him, and I'm worried that Serral might get distracted up here in the north side. The constant harassment there pulling his attention away when his most important point of defense right now is actually the very bottom center of the map. I think we might even have a Liberator or a drop moving down there right as we speak.
On the bottom left.
And if that base gets taken out, that is so bad for Serral.
He needs to move back. He's going to use Burrow here to try and hide some of these drones. Forces his scan. I guess he's just a couple of Marines. He can be back there on time to make sure he doesn't lose too much. What do you make of the armies? Like when you look at both armies, is it really about who gets the better engagement, or is there one more? Is there an army that's scarier than the other?
You know, the big thing that happened in that last fight was a ton of Vipers went down. Those Vipers are so gas heavy. Because of that, Serral's whole gas bank has been worked through. That's really bad for him.
Yeah, he's down to 0, I think.
Yeah, he really needs those once again. He's going to come in. Ultra Ling Bane, Ultra Corruptor just rolling over the top. And those Liberators are falling very quickly, but the Ultra's taking a ton of hits. The Planetary Fortress standing strong, those Ultras very low, but the important air units of GuMiho are going down, and that's probably the most important thing. But, oh man, he's actually going to get the Spire in the main base. He's got Liberators hitting both of Serral's mining expansions. GuMiho with a triple backstab. Looks like he might be able to tear apart Serral's economy, and I think that's worth losing an expansion up there.
Yeah, GuMiho is in all places at once right now. Serral might be starting to fall apart a little bit. He spent most of his bank here in economy, and Serral now trailing behind his supply, trying to replenish the ultra count that he needs to face this ground army. GuMiho lost a key base though. That was his 6th base, and remember he has mules, so he might start a little bit quicker, trying to retake one on the top right hand side. He could fly command center elsewhere, but he's still afraid to step on creep and take a proper fight against the Zerg, and I mean he should be.
This is such a hard position for Serral. Losing all of those important spellcasters, those are what give you value over time. And oh, the Liberator takes out the only anti-air down at this base. The Queen just kind of floats away there after that Liberator shot finishes it off. And Serral losing mining on that base. This is such a big problem. Right now, he needs to be able to hang on to this middle area. He's got a good creep buffer, but he just doesn't have any mining. He's got half the base going, and that's about it.
Serral again going for it, actually. I thought he might just sit back, try and resaturate his bottom left-hand side base. He's taking the fight to GuMiho once more. GuMiho lifting up the command center here, pulling back, trying to kite his way out of this one. Wait for more Liberators.
Has he cleaned up the mining on the bottom base yet? Has Serral, I mean. If he's cleaned up that Liberator, then he should be okay. He's trying to rebuild workers right now.
That's, I mean, if he knew that he's on 51 against 44, he might not even do that. Top right-hand side, I think the CC was spotted and forced to fly away just by one single link, you know.
Serral's got
scary force.
He's got the gas bank. I think he just needs to defend 1 or 2 mining bases, and he might be able to get back in this. But right now, this base, it's only just starting to mine again, and this medevac, it's going to unload its units.
Why don't Zergs leave like 1 ultra here?
I think he definitely should have this game. This is going to cause him big problems. He does have some Zerglings coming down.
Yeah.
They might get there just in time. But is that even enough to clean up a full drop? Adrenal Gland Zerglings are pretty good units, but that gap in the mineral is also going to be very powerful there.
And more bio comes in from the left-hand side here. Serral needs to defend against this. He might just attack. Every single time this happens, this triggers a big attack here from Serral, but this might be the last one here that he can really afford to go for, because his economy is in shambles. Takes out a lot of these Liberators here that weren't even siege just yet. The Queens are going to join the fight to try and transfuse these Ultras, but Serral is pushed back. And look at the supply. GuMiho taking a huge lead now, and he sniped the most important base of Serral now, while securing his own on the top right-hand side in the meantime.
Gumi, the multitasking god. Almost never having the superior army in this late game, but always having the superior positioning. He has found Serral's weakness, just constantly backstabbing whenever Serral pushes the front. He has obliterated Serral's economy. He's going to take out this expansion, pushing the creep back. He is way up in supply. He's securing 2 new bases on the north side of the map at the same time. And suddenly, Serral, he defended so well. He fought so hard for so long. And even with a few Trader Widow mines, I don't know if he's going to be able to get back in this one. Such a great game from GuMiho, really using the positioning like no other Terran player.
Yeah, I think the multiple Medivac drops really started putting him ahead here when there was the big attack by Serral. I thought Koka's brain was going to explode here for a second. There was action all over the map in 7 different places, but oh, what a game, man. Serral, you got to feel for him here. From this point, it feels like there's not much he can do. Really hope that GuMiho makes a massive mistake, but with 132 army supply against 60, this is almost unlosable here for the Korean Terran.
You know, that key fight was those 3 Widow Mines. That one maneuver from GuMiho, catching all the Vipers and Corruptors with the blast, and then killing every single Viper. From that moment, Serral didn't reproduce any of his spellcasters. He was under so much pressure, and that is where he lost his efficiency. His army became a clunky ball of Ultras and Banelings and Hydras. It wasn't able to pick away at things. And now here, these Liberators just using the positioning to pick away at the economy. A massive Marauder Marine Liberator building up at home. And GuMiho now almost remaxed, pushing through the middle of the map to finish this game.
I guess he can deal with the air, but it's just the ground here that Serral doesn't have enough on. Just a clear lack of Ultras, and that base still being under assault here. GuMiho is relentless. In the meantime, he's going to push their forward on the right-hand side with the main chunk of his army here that is just massive. The hatchery is going to go down as well. Cut down even more the mining here of Serral.
Great movement here from Gumi. Taking down these hatcheries and just keeping that army alive. Clearing up the map control that Serral fought for so long to ascertain. All of that creep spread just getting cleared away. And Serral's income is down in the dumps, of course. The income for GuMiho is soaring right now at 1,700 minerals a minute. Serral down at just about 500 minerals a minute, only able to trickle out these units a couple at a time.
Yeah, 2 Vipers here from Serral with a valiant effort. This is tournament life on the line. I can't even blame him here for really staying in it, trying to come back somehow. But I think there's not much that can be done here. Not even, I guess, if you had a lot of Infestors and Vipers, you could then blame Cloud Fungal and pray, but not even that, I think, would win in the game.
It's going to be very, very tough. Of course, Serral, he wanted this so badly. There's been so much hype behind him here as a young Finnish player with so much ambition, so much talent. But here, right now in this fight, GuMiho's army is overwhelming. He has worked so hard to gain many little advantages over the course of this game, and now it is finally spiraled out of control. There is just